Hello, my name is Bryant Terry. I am an Oakland-based chef, author, food justice activist, and founder and editor-in-chief of 4 Color Books, an imprint of 10 Speed Press and Penguin Random House. I will be reading an excerpt from my latest book, Black Food, and I'll just jump into it. This is from the introduction. And it starts with a quote by Audre Lorde. Sometimes we are blessed with being able to choose the time and the arena and the manner of our revolution, but more usually, we must do battle where we are standing. Audre Lorde. Black food is a communal shrine to the shared culinary histories of the African diaspora. These pages offer up gratitude to the great chain of Black lives and to all the sustaining ingredients and nourishing traditions they carried and remembered through time and space to deliver their kin into the future. Every one of us who came together to make this book invoked sacred energies to support the creation of a beautiful, delicious, and thought-provoking compendium. We pray that this collection facilitates reflection on and veneration of our sacred foodways. Recipes are the through line of Black food. Without being overly prescriptive, I asked brilliant colleagues to offer dishes that embody their approach to cooking and draw on history and memory while looking forward. I encourage you to make many recipes in this book and to create space for meaningful, visceral experiences. Trust me, the food will provide more sustenance, more nourishment, more health, more pleasure, and more life. But that's not all. Black food also includes moving visual art, thought-provoking essays, and imaginative poetry that will encourage spiritual and intellectual exploration, renewal, and growth. We seek in these pages to promote a concept of food that embraces courage, commitment, and self-discovery, and ultimately moves each and all of us to a better place. In my graduate school advisor, Robin D.G. Kelly's 1994 essay collection, Imagining Home, Class, Culture, and Nationalism in the African Diaspora, I discovered a profound rumination by the late South African scholar activist Bernard Magubane. Diasporic consciousness arose from a, quote, determined effort on the part of Black people to rediscover the shrines from the wreckage of history. In this book, this altar, we lay out and lay on it the collective weight, the push of experiences and traditions of the African diaspora, the movement of Black bodies and Black food far and wide, from pre-Columbian voyages out of Africa to the violent dislocations of the transatlantic slave trade and colonialism. So, Black Food is a book that I've been kind of imagining being in the world since I started my position as chef in residence at MOAD, the Museum of the African Diaspora in San Francisco in 2015. And fast forward to 2020, we're as a country dealing with the racial reckoning post-state murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. And after that, and the revelation of a lot of racism within food media, specifically some legacy food media companies and some magazines and some publishers, I was very clear that it was time to bring this book into the world. And so I brought together this brilliant team of people who birthed this book literally in 9 months. This is a pandemic baby. We were very intentional. I was very intentional when I presented this to my publisher about wanting to have a mostly Black team. We had a brilliant Black art director, George McCalman. Our food photographer, Oriana Corin, is Black. Our food stylist, Lillian Kang, is actually Korean American, one of the best in the business. Jillian Knox was our prop stylist. Amanda Yee was our creative director. And then we just had these brilliant creatives throughout the Black diaspora. Over 100 contributors throughout the African diaspora came together and created this book. And I really wanted to bring a book in the world that allowed all of us. And when I called on people to contribute to the book, I shared this quote where Toni Morrison talks about racism being a distraction. And I really charge people to think about what they can bring to this book with the energy of joy and brilliance and agency and magic and creation. And what do our lives look like? What do our creative lives look like when we aren't kind of dealing with this albatross of white supremacy hanging around our neck. And so people stepped up to the challenge. The book is brilliant. And I always say that obviously I would love for people to make recipes from the book, but it's a book that will sit on your coffee table because it's filled with beautiful and moving and thought-provoking art. It can sit on your bedside because the essays are so just riveting and important. And then there's a lot of poetry and other creative pieces in here. So I highly encourage that you get this book for someone in your life or yourself. But if you do want to give it away, I would say give it to a young person who is interested in food and the food space. When I first got into this field, I wish that I had a book like this to really just help me know myself better and encourage me to continue to do the good work. So I'll finish by sharing a couple of my favorite books these days. One is Black Ivy by Jason Jules and Graham Marsh. Really just talks about the kind of connection between Black style and radical politics in the late 60s and just Black folks doing their thing. One of my favorite books these days, A Man and His Watch by Matt Henrik. And if you're a watch enthusiast out here, this is definitely a book that you need to keep out. And then there is Arabia, is a forthcoming book by Oakland-based chef and author Rima Zil. Brilliant Palestinian recipes and just sharing the culture and the food and practices of the Arab diaspora. So happy World Book Day, and I'm glad you could sit with me for a second. Thank you.